The Night Shift, Part 1, The Rules. The new hire arrived 5 minutes before midnight. The gas station was quiet, too quiet. The store stood under pale, flickering fluorescent lights that buzzed like distant insects. The surrounding darkness pressed in from all sides, the road beyond empty and silent. Inside, someone was waiting behind the counter. Older, worn down, with hollow eyes and a uniform that had long since lost its color. The veteran didn't smile, didn't offer a handshake, only handed over a creased, yellowed piece of paper. Read it. Follow every rule exactly as it's written. The paper smelled faintly of mildew. The handwriting was uneven, frantic, written in black ink. Rules for the overnight shift. Read carefully. At 12:15 a.m., the radio will turn on by itself. Do not attempt to turn it off. Just listen. If the phone rings at 3 a.m., do not answer. If you do, and a voice asks for your name, simply say you don't know it. There's a metal door at the end of the storage hallway. Do not open it. Ever. If a customer enters without a shadow, serve them normally, but do not accept coins as payment. The bathroom mirror will fog up around 2:40 a.m. Do not wipe it. Do not look into it. If you hear knocking at the back window, no matter how desperate it sounds, do not check. Your shift ends at 6 a.m. If someone comes in at 5:59 claiming to be your replacement, do not let them in. The new hire looked up from the list, expecting a joke, a smirk, some hint this was all a weird initiation. Instead, the veteran grabbed their keys, paused at the door and said, "If you forget a rule, improvise. But whatever you do, never break Rule 3. The door shut behind them. The store was silent. The clock on the wall clicked to 12 a.m. The first 15 minutes passed in stiff silence. The new hire paced slowly between the aisles, adjusting chip bags and pretending to read the labels. Every now and then, a soft hum from the old refrigeration unit made the silence feel even deeper, like the building was holding its breath. At exactly 12:15 a.m., the radio on the counter turned on. No one had touched it. It didn't tune to a music station. Instead, a strange, static-filled frequency faded in, quiet at first, then slowly growing louder. There were no voices, just a low droning sound. Beneath it, something rhythmic, almost like breathing. Then came the whispering. Indistinct at first, like multiple voices speaking over each other in reverse. A chill settled over the room, the kind that seems to move through your spine and press into your chest. A single word emerged from the chaos. Listening. The lights above aisle 3 flickered. The new hire stayed still, remembering rule number 1. Do not attempt to turn it off. Just listen. So they listened. For the next 5 minutes, the radio played noises that didn't belong on any station. Growls, coughs, garbled laughter, and a mechanical screech that made the front glass tremble. And then silence. The radio clicked off on its own. The store returned to its still, artificial calm. And the clock now read 12:21 a.m. Something had changed. In aisle 3, a single can of soup was on the floor, but it hadn't been there before. The camera above it was still. Nothing had moved. At least, not on camera. After the radio incident, the new hire stood behind the counter, watching the aisles like they might shift or breathe. The silence wasn't silent anymore, it had a pulse. Every crack in the tiles and buzz of the freezer felt like it was watching back. At 1:37 a.m., the doorbell jingled. Someone entered. At first glance, the figure looked normal, jeans, jacket had pulled up. But there was something wrong. The light from above didn't touch the ground near them. No shadow. Rule 4. If a customer enters without a shadow, serve them normally. Do not accept coins. The figure moved silently through the store, never looking up. No footsteps. The security monitor behind the counter flickered when the figure passed through aisle 2, distorting slightly, like the camera couldn't focus. They stopped in front of the drink cooler, opened it, and took out a glass bottle of something dark. The door closed without a sound. The figure approached the counter and placed the bottle down. No eye contact. No words. Then, slowly, they reached into their pocket and pulled out a handful of coins. Old ones. Rusted. Wrong. The new hire didn't move. The figure stood, waiting. The silence dragged on until, with unnatural calm, the new hire gently pushed the coins back across the counter. Card only, they whispered. A moment passed. Then another. The figure tilted its head slightly, just enough to crack the illusion of human movement. The lights flickered. Then, wordlessly, the figure walked away, bottle still in hand. The door opened. No sound. No alarm. No shadow. They were gone. The bottle remained on the counter, unlabeled. Condensation slid down its side, though the glass was warm to the touch. The clock struck 1:44 a.m. There were still hours left. Time slowed after the shadowless customer left. The bottle on the counter still sat where it had been placed. No label, no brand, no barcode. Every instinct said to throw it away, but something about it felt heavy. Not in weight, but in presence. At 2:38 a.m., a low humming began in the walls. The fluorescent lights above the restroom door flickered once, then again. A buzzing sound echoed from behind the door, like a faulty fan blade or an insect trapped in the ventilation. Then came the soft clink, the sound of the bathroom mirror starting to fog. Rule 5. The bathroom mirror will fog up around 2:40 a.m. Do not wipe it. Do not look into it. The new hire froze. From the front counter, it was barely possible to see the edge of the bathroom's interior through the cracked open door. The mirror inside had started to glow faintly, its surface clouding in a slow, swirling motion, not like steam, but like something moving inside the glass itself. And then, the reflection moved. Not the room, just the mirror. Inside it, the convenience store was backwards, dimmer, dirtier. The shelves were toppled. The aisles twisted. The lights were red. And there was someone inside. Not a reflection. A figure, pale and twitching, standing where the new hire would be, staring out from behind the fog with a smile that didn't reach its eyes. It lifted one hand and slowly knocked on the inside of the glass. Knock, knock, knock. Then it tilted its head and mouthed a word. Come. The light above the bathroom blew out with a pop. Darkness. Silence. The mirror cleared. The door creaked open just an inch more. The clock read 2:43 a.m. And from the back hallway, near the metal door, came the sound of something dragging, slowly, across the floor. The dragging sound from the back hallway didn't stop. It scraped slowly, rhythmically, like something heavy being pulled across concrete, and it was getting closer to the metal door. Rule 3. There's a metal door at the end of the storage hallway. Do not open it. Ever. The hallway itself was narrow, lit by one flickering light. The walls were lined with boxes of expired snacks and soda that hadn't sold since last summer. And at the end stood the door, thick, dented, and coated in peeling gray paint. No label. Just a rusted handle and 3 bolts that looked like they should be locked. But now the bolts were sliding. 1. Click. 2. Click. 3. Click. They undid themselves. The door didn't open, but something behind it pressed, slow, deliberate, testing the frame. A soft thump, followed by a second, louder one. Not fists. Hands. Flat and enormous. The new hire didn't move. The urge to run was crushed beneath a sense of being watched by something beyond the door. Something old. Familiar, in the worst way. Then, through the thin slit at the bottom of the metal door, barely visible, light began to spill out. But it wasn't white. Or warm. It was red. Pulsing like a heartbeat. Like something on the other side was breathing. Then came the sound, a voice not quite human. Whispering from under the door, echoing up through the floor and into the walls. You're not him. You're not the one. But you opened the mirror. You're close enough. Bang. The door shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. The glass cooler behind the counter shattered, with no one near it. And then silence. The light vanished. The bolts locked themselves again. Click. 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 The hallway light returned to normal. Back in the main store, the phone started ringing. 3 a.m. Rule 2. The phone rang sharp and clear. 3 a.m. on the dot. The line sat behind the counter, a dusty, beige relic with a coiled cord and no caller ID. It hadn't rung all night, not once, until now. Rule 2. If the phone rings at 3 a.m., do not answer. If you do, and a voice asks for your name, simply say you don't know it. The phone rang again. And again. And again. Each ring felt louder. Closer. Like it was coming from inside the walls, from inside the head. Finally, without even realizing it, the new hire picked up the receiver. Static. Silence. Then, a faint, brittle voice, distant and unnatural. Who are you? Breathing. Tell me your name. Every part of the body screamed hang up. But the rules were clear. The new hire whispered. I don't know it. Silence. Then a chuckle. Not cruel. Not kind. Just knowing. Good. Then maybe, you'll last longer than the last one. He said his name. He's in the mirror now. Click. The line went dead. And then came the knock. Not at the door. Not at the glass. From inside the walls. One knock. 2, 3. And behind the cooler aisle, where the bottles still sat untouched, the wall shifted slightly, as if something had moved on the other side. Something that now knew the new hire was here. The clock read 3:01 a.m. Half the shift still remained. The store had changed. The lights still worked. The aisles still stood. But nothing felt right. Shadows no longer matched the objects that cast them. The reflection in the front windows lagged a half-second behind reality. The hum of the refrigeration units had become a low, guttural breathing. The bottle on the counter began to sweat, black droplets running down its sides. The label was still missing, but now the glass was warm to the point of discomfort, like it had been held too long by unseen hands. The new hire backed away from it. From the bathroom, the mirror began to fog again, without steam, without reason. From the hallway, the metal door vibrated, ever so slightly, like something behind it was pacing. The phone rang one last time at 3:33 a.m. It was left unanswered, and then the store fell silent. No flickering, no sounds, stillness, until 4:01 a.m., when the lights in the ceiling dimmed and stayed that way. Then came the scratching, from inside the vents, from behind the freezer, from underneath the floor. Tiny, desperate claws, dozens of them. The new hire ran to the back room, grabbing the emergency flashlight from the wall. It clicked on weakly, the beam barely piercing the thickening darkness. And then, the door opened. Not the front, not the bathroom, the metal door. It creaked slowly, screaming in rusted protest. No one touched it. No one turned the handle. It opened because it wanted to. Inside was not a room. Inside was another store, identical but rotting, tilted at impossible angles. Shelves torn down. Red light pulsing like veins through the walls. Mirrors in every corner, reflecting versions of the store where the hire wasn't alone. Where the hire was being watched. Where the hire was being followed. From inside the red-lit replica, a figure emerged. It looked like the new hire. But it wasn't. It had no eyes. Its skin was too smooth, too stretched. Its mouth opened wide, unhinged. And from that mouth came the voices of every rule, repeated over and over. Do not answer. Do not look. Do not open. You opened. You looked. You answered. The copy stepped into the real store. The real hire ran. Through the aisles. Past the bottle, which now vibrated violently, and let out faint whispers in tongues never heard before. Through the front door, which finally, mercifully, opened at the first touch. Out into the night. Out into nothing. Because the gas station, the pumps, the parking lot, the road was gone. Only the store remained, floating in red fog. Time had stopped, but one sound broke through it all. Beep, beep, beep. The register. 5:59 a.m. Someone knocked on the glass front door. A man in a clean uniform. Smiling. Waving. Hey, I'm your replacement. Sorry I'm late. Rule 7. If someone arrives at 5:59 a.m. claiming to be your replacement, do not let them in. But the new hire was no longer near the rules. The rules were far behind now. He opened the door. The man smiled wider. And behind him, stretching into the red mist, came the others. Each wearing the same uniform. Each eyeless. Each smiling. 6 a.m. The shift ended. And somewhere else entirely, a dusty old paper was placed on a counter. Freshly printed. With the rules. Ready for the next hire.